Hi, I'm Carisha Devlin, co-CEO of Annie's Project. Welcome to the In Plain Talk podcast. In the next few episodes, we'll be exploring and digging deep into the topic of crop insurance. These episodes are sponsored by USDA RMA Award number RMA 23 CPT 00-13617. The second episode in this series is how to choose a crop insurance agent. And I'd like to welcome back Heather Dufault, Extension Educator in Ag Production Systems with University of Minnesota Extension, to share about how to go about finding an agent. Heather, there may have been some who missed our first episode. So before we get started, can you give us some information about your background and your work with crop insurance?
Absolutely. As we touched on in the first episode, I grew up on a dairy farm. So, I have a farm kid through and through. Worked with animals and livestock all the way through college and ended up with my bachelor's degree in ag business management, which led me to work for an agent and then for another big agency after that for about 20 years in the crop insurance industry. So, having a lot of experience working with the policies, working with producers, and trying to find them the right balance. But also, my husband and I run a small, what I call small family generational farm of about 1,000 acres of wheat, corn, soybeans, and sugar beets. And then our three children are a part of our operations as well. So it's, having that background helps us with the business side of when it's time for us to look at our policy and renew our policies. So that my husband kind of relies on me to kind of do that kind of stuff. So it's working together and, we're just moving forward.
Well, I'm sure he really appreciates your expertise. So my first question is just a scenario. So I want to buy crop insurance. Where do I go to do so?
So, you can go down your street and see if there's an agent down the street that it sells crop insurance. However, you want to do a few things just to make sure that that person is the right agent for you, for your operation. So I would suggest interviewing. Talk to a few different agents and ask them a few of the same questions and just, try to figure out, is that person, is that agent knowledgeable? Do they work with the crop insurance program itself? Or do they work with many other lines of insurance as well? As we find, most agents run multiple lines of insurance, whether it's homeowners, your general farm, your crop insurance, and some other lines of health and medical in there as well. Or is this agency specifically, targeted to just crop insurance? So they're studying the policies all the time. They're seeing the changes. They're on top of everything, so they know what's going on.
If I don't have an agency that's down the road or I'm not sure of any in my area, where would be some other places I could go to find an agent?
A really great place, Krisha, to go to is to just Google the RMA webpage, the Risk Management Agency's webpage, and then in their search box, you can type in agent locator and it'll pop up a map for you and you can put your area in there and you can find all the approved agencies that work with the approved insurance providers on that map.
If I have an interest or I'm wanting crop insurance in an area that's outside of quote unquote traditional agriculture, so perhaps I have honeybees or I have an urban farm or I'm, raising a commodity that is not the corn, soybeans, wheat. Um, how do I know if the agent that I'm going to is knowledgeable about the product that I'm raising, the type of crop insurance I might be interested in?
I would go back to the same thing as ask the questions. Basically interview your agent. Also, you could probably on the RMA webpage type in some of those specialty crop areas
Mhm.
and maybe find an agent that does specialize in that particular type of a policy. Um, and don't be afraid to go outside of your local area. Just because they're right down the street from you doesn't mean that they're the right fit for you. So don't be afraid to find somebody that has that knowledge, and the only way we do that is we ask those questions.
Mhm.
And so it'll feel like an interview to your interviewing your crop insurance agent. Yeah.
You make a really good point there, Heather, because I spoke to someone in the past that was looking for a micro farm policy, and they went to an agent and they didn't get anywhere. The person seemed unwilling to help them. And I think the point you made about go elsewhere, there's other folks out there that you can find someone that will be willing to service you and can answer your questions. So it's to keep looking, right?
Absolutely. It's keep looking. It's that you want to have somebody that fits your personality, and then did their values meet your values of
Mhm.
your farm? Um, and knowing those things, you got to find the right fit. And also, when I talked about an agent that maybe works with multiple lines versus just working with the crop insurance lines, that person that works just with crop insurance may have more time to study those other policies that are not the standard traditional crop policies, where they are putting some time into those other policies and learning those instead of working on other lines of coverage as well. So having that specialized agency, it sometimes is a really good key.
If I am going in to interview them, and you've given us a lot of great information to think about and to help people know that, hey, this is your business. You can do this. You can choose your advisors. You can choose the folks that you're working with. Can you give us some other key questions that
So
may help lead into that interview, kind of quote unquote interview process?
some key questions. I have asked questions in my head, but the key questions are, what is their background? Maybe do they have a farming background? Um, are they versed in some taxes? Because sometimes some of our policies in the with the multi-peril crop insurance requires some taxes to be looked at, so understanding some of that language. Um, so I guess the key question would be, what is their background, what is their passion, and then how asking them how they can help you make a better farm or better business for you going down the line.
Do you have any other thoughts or suggestions that you would like to share with us about finding an agent?
Communication. The key to having a really good policy and a good relationship is communication. So by doing this little like semi interview, or finding where that agent fits with your personalities, it's all in communication. We're talking to each other, we're answering questions the best we can. If we can't get them answered right away, we're researching the answer, bringing it back. um, it all leads down to service sometimes in our crop insurance industry. So because our policies are all the same no matter where we actually go. So when we're choosing an agent, we're really choosing an agent that will help service our policy and make our farm better.
Thank you, Heather, for all of this information. I think it'll be very helpful to anyone who is listening, whether they already have crop insurance or maybe they're thinking about getting crop insurance, and how to choose an agent, how maybe to even change agents if you're not happy with the one you're currently working with. But I think to kind of summarize what you said was there's a lot of options out there, and for people not to be scared to continue to look or to ask questions or even to interview who they might be working with.
Absolutely. Don't let it scare you. And maybe your neighbor has the same question. So, by asking the question, you can get an answer and then you can share it out and you can help somebody else with those same questions. So, don't be scared. Just communicate.
I think that's another key word to remember from this episode is communication. Well, again, thank you, Heather. We'll be continuing a conversation with Heather in the next episode. So be sure to join us for part 3 when we talk about crop rain and hail stand alone policies.